Good evening and welcome to another edition of the R&R Sports Report. I'm your host, Randy Isbell. With me, as always, Robert Hagan. Robert, what's up, man?
Man, everything. World Series started tonight, so
What is that?
what is that?
Yeah.
That's what your Yankees and my Mariners are not doing right now.
The baseball ended weeks ago.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It was weird, listening to a little bit of Boston Red Sox stuff on Friday, going to a football game. But that was Pete's.
Why would you
Pete's
torture
doing
yourself like that?
Well, Pete's a huge Boston Red Sox fan, so we had to listen to it on the ride up. So.
Yeah, World Series starting right now. I don't know what the score is. I don't care. You tell I'm just bitter.
Well, it's at least 1-0 because we had some history.
Let's hear the history first.
So tonight, in his first at bat, as we know, Atlanta's on the road against Houston, and Braves Jorge Soler becomes the first major league player.
That was not the best interpretation of Jorge Soler. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Haley's here. Hi, Haley.
First player in major league history to hit a homer in the opening at bat of the World Series.
Yeah, the World Series has only been going on for like 100 years. So
exactly.
Atlanta right now up 3-0 in the bottom of the second inning. I don't mind that. I'll watch the World Series on mute I can't do the Braves chant. It just drives me nuts as a Yankee fan, and the way it was in the 90s, I just
right.
That chant, I just can't do it. I can't do it, and I can't do the Astros. So I think I said this on the show before. The 4 teams that were left in the championship series were my 4 least favorite teams. So it's not been.
Yeah, it is what it is.
October for me as far as baseball goes. Football not much better, but we'll get into it. This is the R&R Sports Report. You're listening to us on KLCZ 88.9 FM Lewiston. It's been a rainy, yucky kind of day, but my yard has needed it just to kind of not have it be completely yellow before the winter hits. It's 53 degrees outside right now. You can also check us out on the R&R Sports Report Facebook and YouTube pages. That is where you are able to contact us, just like Haley did a minute ago, saying hello. We always have a lot of fun with the people in the chat, so hop on there, have some fun. We're going to have a fantastic off-the-cuff show for you. As we weren't able to get a guest for the show, Alicia just has decided just to ignore my emails. Well, I think she's still on vacation, to be fair to her. And she's also prepping for the opening for the actual season for men's basketball. Women's starts next week. She's got a lot going on.
She emailed me earlier today, and I haven't had a chance myself. I haven't had a chance to respond yet. As you were kind of saying, I didn't know what the weather was until I left school about 5 o'clock. So, yeah, she already emailed me. Am I working on the 5th and 6th? So I haven't got that part yet. Not knowing what's going on. Playoff football time, so it'll be interesting to see where I'm at. Yeah, and with volleyball finishing up, it's just kind of crazy. Cross country for the high school, wrapping things up. So it's just been crazy busy today. And Spirit Week at school, I had to do that. So I'm wearing my bowling shirt tonight. They said, "What's your favorite athlete?" And I decided to say I was my favorite athlete. So I'm wearing...
Are bowlers athletes?
Yes.
Are we athletes?
Yes, we work out.
I choked like an athlete on Sunday.
You had a great game.
Yeah.
You had the high game of the week.
No, I didn't. Wayne Herschel got a 300.
No. In our league. Yeah.
Congratulations to Wayne Herschel for his 300. I'm still shocked it's only his 4th.
Yeah,
that's how good as of a bowler that Wayne is. But no, it's pretty sad when you throw the first 10 in the pocket for strikes, and then you don't even hit the head pin on him.
Listen, the 10th one was nice. I looked over there on the 9th frame, and I didn't realize where you were at because, I was too busy dealing with Wesley getting in my ear about how they were bowling and, without his partner. And so I kind of blanked out, and I finally looked around the other lanes and see you up with 9. And I'm like, dang. At the same time, Keith was up with 9. He gets up in his 10th and throws a Greek church. At least you struck in the 10th.
Yeah, I at least picked it up for sure. On today's show, like I said, we're kind of off the cuff because we don't have an interview. And we don't have a lot of segments planned out. We've both been really, really busy this week. So our usual ridiculous
long script.
Document is pretty empty. So we're going to have some fun. Hopefully we'll get some interactions with the people on Facebook and YouTube, and we'll just kind of go off the cuff and have some fun with this episode. But we have a lot to talk about. Of course, week 7 of the NFL, college football is starting to get down to the nitty gritty as far as who's going to make the playoffs. Idaho football is going into playoff time. Washington has one more week.
Yeah.
Until all of that, LC had a huge week as far as volleyball goes, and basketball get ready to go in full swing. We'll talk all about the local sports. We got a fantastic sports-related draft this week. Robert knew exactly what he wanted to pick the moment last week's show was out, and we have a production for you on the Facebook page tomorrow. It's going to be great.
You and I have talked about this over the last few weeks. This is what, number 5 that we've done now? Six that we've done now. And this one got me going a little bit more just because it was start of playoff time. And so I'm excited for this one to the point that we were already producing it
like
Wednesday.
We had it done Tuesday night and we're ready to go. So, it's the first one that I have looked up nominees and trying to figure stuff out, and legit got goosebumps trying to figure it out. But we will get into that later on in the show. Of course, we'll always hit those sports that don't get enough airtime, and Robert will stump me in trivia. We'll have all of that. But I just want you guys to know that volleyball, as far as LCSC, will be on the road again this weekend. But there is a lot of volleyball in the Valley this weekend, both at the Activity Center and at Lewiston High School, as the 1A Division I and Division II state volleyball tournaments will be held here in Lewiston Friday and Saturday. And you can check me out on Saturday for the championship day up there for the D2 state finals. I'll be calling 4, maybe 5 games up there for NFHS. So we'll have a lot of fun there. A lot of local schools involved, especially in D1, where you have Troy, Potlatch, and Genesee in that 8-team field. And then in D2, you have Kendrick and Deary. So a lot of local teams in action this weekend. So you have to order your tickets online now. For whatever reason, they do not sell tickets there. And I guess if you don't order it before, you just don't get a watch. It's just like the most backwards marketing I've ever seen. But I don't know. If you're interested in doing it, go check out somewhere on the website. I forget even where it's at. idhsa.org or something.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you exactly where it's at. But they've always had where you always have to buy your tickets early for once you get into state stuff. And I know that they do that at the Washington level. You have to have your tickets bought before you go, which I think is dumb too. You never know, especially with all the scenarios that can happen with Washington stuff. We'll talk about that.
Love the fact that you have to order your tickets online because they get so many people there. Yes, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we're going to have some great crowds.
Oh, I think so too.
But I don't think it's going to be sold out before the games go. But you can get them at idhsaa.org is the website for that. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into the NFL, and let's start with some Homer headlines. And which one of us sad pandas want to go first?
Yeah, after this week, I mean the whole NFL that was last week kind of just it was like a blah.
Yeah,
that was 100%. It was kind of a blah feeling watching all the games, unless you were me and getting frustrated and walking around pacing, watching the game.
The only way you didn't think that this weekend was blah is if your team was one of the teams that blew out somebody else.
Exactly.
So if you are a Bengals fan, a Patriots fan, a Titans fan, of course, I guess a Giants fan just because it got the win.
Jimmy was sitting with me. We watched a little bit of his game too, but we were more paying attention to his game than we were mine.
There were some good games. Again, if you're a Packers fan, which by the way, I'm going to get into that game. What a joke. Absolute joke that game was. But no, the games were boring and very few were close. There was only 3 games, I guess, after Monday night that finished within a score. Mm-hmm. Atlanta, Miami was fun. At least that was a good game between 2 crappy teams. The other two, Thursday night and Monday night, were near unwatchable.
Right.
Like they were close because both teams were just that bad. And but as far as our Homer headlines go, I guess I will go first. And my headline is, what did the Jets even do on their bye week? Like, that's what I've been excited for. Like I've said multiple times, I don't care what the Jets record ends up being. Wins and losses mean absolutely nothing this year. I just want to see improvement. And that first big step for an improvement is, what can you do after the bye week? Unfortunately, the NFL kind of hosed them and said, oh, after the bye week, you get Bill Belichick, who always owns the Jets and always owns rookie quarterbacks. And it showed in this game, as it was not even close. And it gets even worse because Zach Wilson hurts his knee and he has to leave, which is it's the saddest thing for the Jets, because the way that they are constructed, it's, hey, your rookie quarterback is out. So now in comes your backup quarterback who has less experience than your rookie quarterback. It just is not set up for success right now, and that's okay. I mean, they got to build from there. They do trade for Joe Flacco, which of course is a complete joke, but at least as a veteran leadership.
Yeah,
and honestly, I don't even care if he plays or not. I like him there just as somebody who's actually played in the NFL, talking to Zach Wilson. So at least he gets a little bit of veteran leadership there. I mean, I still wish it was Ryan Fitzpatrick, because that always works out for the young guys. But
I do agree, Haley. His first pass was a touchdown. Yes, correct. So
yeah, only because Corey Davis made a fantastic play on not the best ball. I loved Twitter after that play. Oh my God, White is so much better than Zach Wilson. And then White goes out, throws 2 interceptions. No, just stop.
No, nowhere close.
Stop. What I'm more excited about, and I really thought the Jets would win 5-6 games this year. I'm starting to go for the under of that 5 or 6 win prediction. But they did have a very tough schedule at the beginning, and we will see how things go. But what I'm really excited about is the fact that the Seattle Seahawks suck.
I saw your comments on Tim's post today, and them just trying to up your pick, and I like that. I so wanted to make a comment, and I said,
it's working beautifully. We traded our safety, who has done not a lot in Seattle, by Adams.
Not this year.
Adams is a great player. I loved Adams when he was with the Jets. And then not much for Seattle.
Not this year, not at all.
And for giving up Adams, who was not going to make the Jets a contender by any means. The Jets were able to get a first-round pick last year, which they turned into Vera Tucker, who's been a fantastic offensive lineman. And right now, it would give them the 7th pick in the draft next year, on top of the 4th pick that the Jets would get right now for their pick. So right now, the Jets with 2 top 7 picks. Will it stay that way? No. I think Russell Wilson will come back. They'll win some games. But you give the Jets 2 top 15 picks and one of them in the top 5?
I think that seriously happens. But, I mean, it was kind of like the meme I saw a little while ago, just before I left school, was that,
Yes, they did get the Seahawks did get their quarterback from the Jets, which, by the way, just to go on another tangent, anyone that for the first 3 weeks were making fun of Jets fans because, look at Sam Darnold. Look at Sam Darnold.
Yeah,
just look at him. Listen,
they can't do anything right now without Christian there to
the
save
man
him.
Got benched. It's the Christian McCaffrey was the difference, and he was perfect for Sam Darnold because it was the great check down. He loses McCaffrey, and all of a sudden, Senior Happy Feet returns. And who is it? PJ Walker comes in to replace him. Sam Darnold has not been that great, and it wasn't because of the Jets. I mean, the Jets didn't help him, and Adam Gase probably killed him. But anybody who's going off, look at Sam Darnold left the Jets. Now he's 3-0. Now he's 3-4. So enjoy that.
Well, you were talking about Seattle. Let's go ahead and just jump on Seattle. Yes. And I'm 100% with you. So we'll field all the hate mail and the hate messages, which we'll have.
They're too sad to say.
Listen. I mean, it's kind of like the meme I saw earlier. Is a left-handed Russell Wilson better than a right-handed Geno Smith?
At this point, maybe.
I think 100%. Yeah. I mean, he just proved himself. How many plays did he make last night that he literally had to call timeout because he couldn't get the coverage change that fast. I mean, you're supposed to be a veteran that has been around. And yes, a veteran that has bounced around different, and nothing against him, but you should be a little bit better about getting your checkdowns, getting your coverage changes in a time enough.
He's been in that Seattle system for years.
Right.
He's been the backup for what? 4 years?
I was going to say 3 or 4 years, yeah.
So he should know the system, and those kind of mistakes should not happen. The thing that's made me laugh more than anything is the Seahawks have been in it at the end of each of the 3 games that Geno Smith has been a part of. He's had the ball in his hand late in the fourth quarter with a chance to win it. All 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
And he's thrown an interception, which wasn't really his fault because the receiver fell. He got a strip sack and lost it on a fumble. And then yesterday was so terrible he set up Seattle for a 4th and 28. So 3 times the Seattle had the ball late with a chance to win it, and Geno Smith just completely coughed it up.
So let's talk about that for a second here. And we were trying to figure out what the possibilities were. We were talking to a couple of guys here at school. So you lose another one to New Orleans.
Yes.
We have one more. Yeah, I don't want to say we because I'm not part of Seattle whatsoever.
You are
so let me
let
me change this. You know, I was a Seahawks fan when Steve Largent was still there. I mean, I love watching.
I know because you are a front runner.
I wouldn't. They have Jacksonville.
Yeah.
W at home.
No.
Or do you think Jacksonville
wins that game?
Okay. Then you have a bye week. So we've got at least 2 more weeks.
They lose that game too.
Yeah, they lose the bye week. So they got 2 more weeks. And they wanted to say what? Russell was out 4 to 6. So that you could easily bring him back in week number 10. Mm-hmm. But
I think that's their goal.
But let's talk about the schedule then. You've got Green Bay in week 10.
Yep.
At Green Bay. Mm-hmm. Then you come back home, take on Arizona.
Yep. Then
you go back across the country and take on Washington.
But at least that's not a 10 a.m. game. So
it's not a 10 a.m. It's another ESPN night, Monday night game. But then you come back for 2 games with San Francisco, Houston. Do they pick up any wins over that time? Or are we thinking and sitting the idea of being 2 and 8?
If Russell comes back after the bye week, so he comes back with Green Bay, I still don't think they're a good enough team to beat Green Bay, especially on the road. Could they beat Arizona? Yes. Is Arizona is by far our number 1 team in our power rankings.
By far.
They have been absolutely fantastic, but it's a division game. It's in Seattle.
Right.
Anything can happen at that point. Would I predict Seattle to win that game? No, but they could win that game. I think they would beat Washington. Mm-hmm. Just because that defense has not been the way it is.
Which is a Monday night game.
And Seattle's biggest issue right now has been their defense, but Washington, kind of like New Orleans, hasn't really gotten things rolling, so they're going to be able to keep that one close. The 49ers have had their own issues. Mm-hmm. Then they're going to beat the Texans, you would think. I could see them beating the Bears and the Lions down the road. So there's probably
there you go. Merry Christmas. They get the Bears on the day
there's
after
probably
Christmas.
4 easy wins left on their schedule, and they can sneak out a couple. So I could see them getting near 500, but probably a 6-11 record is probably what I'm more looking at right now.
So the rest of your deal, though, for the Jets, they have to finish. I can refresh my memory of the stipulations of the first-round draft pick for Adams. It was they had to finish.
No, they just get a first-round pick.
They just get a first-round pick.
They got a first-round pick for last year and this year.
I thought there was something else in that deal with Adams. So, which anything's got to be better than what they're doing. But I just feel like Geno is not the answer. Their running game just has not been there. What else can Seattle do to finally, make something happen? That's my question.
Yeah, they got 2 firsts and a third. The third was last year, and then a safety as well. But none of them were conditional or whatever. The conditional pick is with Flacco. That's what's a conditional 6th-round pick that could go up with the more playing time that he gets. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, could the Jets end up with 2 top 10 picks? Absolutely.
I think it will happen.
I'm down for it now.
I
mean, you still have to pick the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And the Jets don't have the best track record for that. But we spent way too much time. I guess we went on a Seattle rant, but my Homer headline took a long time. So let's hear your Homer headline.
Well, first I'm gonna make sure we got to tell Parker hi. I gave him a ration at school the other day because he didn't listen. He said he was doing something with his parents. So we didn't have
Parker last week. We haven't had Eric last week.
I know. What the heck? What the heck, Parker? Well, at least he's on here tonight. All right. So my Homer headline, for me, and it was so difficult.
You're so upset that your glasses.
My glasses are fogging up. So I'm gonna take it. I am. I'm so frustrated with the on-off, like a light switch, of the Baltimore Ravens defense. How can you keep a team like Los Angeles to 6 points and then allow the how can I be nice? Team. How can you allow? I'm trying to be nice about this because I mean it was an ugly game on Sunday
for your team.
Yes. How can you give up 41 points? I mean, it just looked like Humphrey looked like he was out of place the entire time. They were trying to go after the rookie Avert. They just did not look like they were anywhere close to being in the right position at the right time anywhere. I mean, it just, you can't have a team that's such an on again, off again defense when that team is a defense minded team. Mm-hmm. What is Martindale telling these guys, especially against Cincinnati? Why do you have to think that Cincinnati, that's an easy win, let's move on and think ahead? Because you look at the schedule.
They had a bye week.
I know, that's the thing. We got a bye week. You get Minnesota, Miami, Chicago. I like those three.
Baltimore looked past Cincinnati. I just thought they got outplayed, and there are going to be games like this.
And we talked about it. Cincinnati is a legit team. I mean, I'm the more I see it, the more we talked about it. Jamar Chase is a stud, and I think now that he has his LSU with LSU, you got Burrow and Chase. I think are they the new dynamic duo, at least in the AFC North? If not the AFC,
absolutely in the AFC North, and probably in the AFC. I think the battle for the best new dynamic duo is Burrow and Chase, and then Murray and Kupp in Arizona. I think those are the top two by far, as far as best new dynamic duo in the NFL.
What about Williams along with Herbert? I mean that's
not really new.
Well,
last year.
It was last year, but they finally.
And they've been on again, off again, I think. But I think it's between these two. And listen, I mean, you can complain and they're off again, and they're good or bad, but every team's going to have their issues. Right. At least you're not Kansas City, where all of a sudden, as much fun as I am having with the Seattle Seahawks fan base, where they've went from we're the greatest team ever, we're a dynasty, everything is fantastic, we have the greatest crowd, we're the best fans, we're the most loyal fans. And then 5 weeks into the season, burn it. We suck. We're terrible. Here we go again. It's like, no, you're not that loyal if you're instantly flipping. You sound like me. I'm a Jets fan. This is what we sound like every year. And now I'm getting that from Kansas City fans. Like Robert Taylor, a good friend of mine, diehard Chiefs fan, was intolerable. You could not handle this guy during the beginning of the Mahomes run. Mahomes could do no wrong. Mahomes was the greatest ever. The Chiefs were going to match Brady with this dynasty. All of a sudden, they struggle for a couple weeks. And I still believe the Chiefs are going to make the postseason.
Right.
They have issues right now, but how many teams have we seen have issues and been able to fix it along the way and make a good run? But he wants to fire everybody. He's like, leave Mahomes, and that's it. And then let's just retool. It's like, you guys, there's been a couple bad weeks. And yes, there are some things that they have to fix. Their defense, especially, is not working. But it's been a couple weeks, guys. Just chill. We've added a week this year. The season is longer. Biggest season ever, or whatever that ad says every 20 minutes on Red Zone. But
well, it's kind of the same thing. And you saying that, how funny that is Dan Patrick had the same rant yesterday.
I know, you may get to listen to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just nuts to think about how many people have jumped on, jumped off, and you know what? If you're a diehard, like you're a diehard Jets fan,
you can worry.
and
you can worry about the team, and you can see flaws in the team for sure. But my favorite is like they're playing the Giants on Monday night this week, and they're a 10-point favorite. And Robert Taylor is going, "How are they a 10-point favorite?" It's because it's the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You beat Washington by 18 points 2 weeks ago. Washington has beat the Giants. You should be fine.
So
you're just not that elite. The four, and the schedule has been brutal for Kansas City.
Right.
Like their 4 losses are Baltimore, the Chargers, the Bills, and the Titans. Those are 4 playoff teams.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not the elite of the elite, but you're not bad by any means.
So you talking about the schedule? Let's look at that. They've got New York this coming week, but then they have Green Bay, Vegas, Dallas. Then their bye week, Denver, but then you got Vegas, Los Angeles, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. I mean, look at all that. Is it the toughest schedule, do you think, in the NFL?
And that's how it's supposed to be. They're built that way. It's if you win your division, you get the toughest schedule of your division, and then obviously divisions will face other divisions, and it rotates. And it just happened to be that the Chiefs got a rough slate on top of now with the extra game being another division winner from the NFC. It makes it even tougher for these division winners. And then when your division is so difficult, there's just no free passes. I mean, even Tampa Bay, who also was set up with a division-winning schedule, at least gets like their division's not fantastic. Or Buffalo again gets that number 1 seeded schedule, but they get the Jets twice, they get Miami twice, so at least there's some breaks there. So that's how the NFL has built itself on parity, which is why I always laughed at anyone after 2 years going, "Oh, we're creating a dynasty." Seattle, Kansas City, like New England is such an outlier to all of this. Like the NFL has set up a system to not have teams like New England. So if you win a Super Bowl, that does not mean you're ever going to come back.
Right.
Ever. Right? Seattle was like, "Oh yeah, we went to a Super Bowl, we won it. We went to the second Super Bowl, we should have run it, or we should have run it at the one to win our back-to-back Super Bowls. We're going to be back." Have they been back? No. Aaron Rodgers wins a Super Bowl. Oh, here we go. Green Bay is going to be this great dynasty. He's better than Brett Favre. They're going to be in so many Super Bowls. Aaron Rodgers hasn't been back to a Super Bowl.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with Peyton Manning. You know, when he was the Colts, yes, he had to switch teams to get there. But I mean, you feel the one for me you feel the hardest about is Jim Kelly, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that Buffalo team to go back to back to back to back, and still not making it a championship.
The AFC in the early '90s was
rough.
And that was before the parity system that they built. Like free agency was still newish at the time.
But that was also back in the time when we had to listen to all the Cowboy fans, and now we just listen to them say, you know, back in the day.
Right.
That's kind of the same with Pittsburgh too.
Yeah,
Sorry, Michael.
That's kind of how it is with the Yankee fans right now too. That is what it is. A couple other news items. Devontae Adams was positive for COVID. So was Matt Nagy, the coach for the Bears. I don't think we see Adams on Thursday, which is disappointing because that game we'll get to.
I was just say, how does Haley feel about that?
I don't know if Haley even knew.
Well,
to be honest.
Guess what, Haley?
Surprise. All right, let's get into Randy's Believe It or Not NFL Week 7 edition. And let's just start with what we were just talking about. Believe it or not, Kansas City will miss the playoffs.
You think they will, but I think I'm going to play devil's advocate. I really think that, you know, Vegas looks a lot better this year, Carr, with them putting things behind them. Give me Kansas City not to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, to clarify, I did say they will make the playoffs, so
yes,
I do not believe to believe it or not, in this. And you look at the playoff standings, as of right now, they're a game out.
Right.
So, it's...
I look at that schedule
so
and how
early
tough
to-
it is, though. I mean, you look at it, they should be able to win both matchups against Denver. Then they've got Green Bay. I think that one's going to be the tough one for them. Cincinnati, we've been jumping on Cincinnati. So I think they just miss it. Just miss it this year.
All right. Believe it or not, Tua Tagovailoa will be traded before the deadline next week.
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, as much as the talk is, Watson, I don't think nobody wants to bring in the Watson idea.
Everyone wants to bring in Miami and Carolina want to bring in the Watson. I don't think they care.
I think Carolina needs to. I mean, get him in there.
Anybody that takes Deshaun Watson at this point is not trying to win this year.
Right.
Which is why I think he's the perfect fit for Miami. But I think this has been drug on so long that I think teams are just finally like, all right, whatever. Because the NFL did not suspend him.
Right.
He's not on that exempt list. So he is eligible to play. It's going to take him a little bit to learn the playbook and stuff. But yeah, I do think Tua gets traded. I think Watson goes to Miami. The Dolphins tank the rest of this year to get a good draft pick, and then you have Watson and whatever you can build around for next year, because it's just not worked. And Tua played well last week. I don't think it's really on him for the loss, but they just are missing something. All right, how about this one? Just to rub it in a little bit more.
On, really?
Believe it or not, the Cincinnati Bengals are the best team in the AFC North.
Are you just trying to take a fork and stick it in and just kind of poke and well, here pretty quick you're going to start twisting it, right? Twisting the fork.
Yeah. I got it all set up.
Listen, I said it a few minutes ago, and I still think it right now. Having Chase there now with Burrows is a wonderful thing for that guy. I said it last year. I thought Joe Burrow was going to have a fantastic season before he got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think he's going to be one of those quarterbacks. Do we put him in the elite category? No. He will be a quarterback that will make a difference for a ball club. Right now, the way Baltimore played, this last week, I would say yes, but that could easily change next week. Baker's out. How long Baker's going to be out and Chubb out? It's kind of
everyone is out.
Yeah, and everybody out. I mean, we're down to, and I say that we're down to Devontae Freeman, and Murray got hurt this last week. So I mean, now you got Le'Veon Bell, and how many running backs are we going to go through? What happens
when you bring in the toxic players? Le'Veon Bell goes to Baltimore. All of a sudden, they're this hot and cold team, and Robert losing his mind. What's his face? Who's the other wide receiver that he gets suspended every time? Josh Gordon.
Right.
Kansas City signs him. All of a sudden, everyone wants everyone fired from Kansas City, and they are just no good anymore. Don't bring in the toxic players as tempting as they are. To be fair, I do think Cincinnati is the best team right now in the AFC North, and it's not because of Burrow, and it's not because of Chase. It is that defense. That defense is studly. They are so underrated right now. They have played some very, very good offenses, some crappy offenses. They played Jacksonville and Chicago and Detroit, of course. But they played some very good offenses this year. They have not given up more than 24 points all year.
That's just crazy to think about.
Crazy. In a very offensive-driven league. The Cincinnati Bengals, especially lately, their defense has been playing better and better. And it's just going to look better next week when they crush the Jets.
Oh, that's going to be nuts.
Sad. All right. We talked about Seattle a lot already, and I already gave my opinions on this. But believe it or not, the Jacksonville Jaguars will win their second straight game with a win at Seattle on Sunday.
Can he come in and run the ball? Can the rookie make big plays? If you're
You
going
don't have
to
to
pair
make big plays.
it, can. Well, I think it's going to come down to a big play.
How
in
many
that
points do
game.
you think Seattle can even score with Geno Smith at quarterback?
Well, they only scored 10 the other day, and one of them was because of the 84 yards to Metcalf, and then he only got 2 more targets in the fourth quarter.
I think if you get to 24, you win.
I was going to say, I think it'll be a low-scoring game, and I have not looked at the over-unders, but I think if you look at the over-unders for that game, if it's anything higher than 38, you're crazy.
43.5 for according to ESPN.com.
That's what I was going to say. I would put the over-under at 38.5, but yeah, I think Jacksonville can come in.
They will.
I think they've got a great chance of coming in and making a huge play in
giving away all my pick'ems this week. But Jacksonville will beat Seattle on Sunday. All right, the last, believe it or not, and this is where the twisting of that fork comes in, because Robert just kept. We don't need to talk about it.
I didn't want to talk about it.
Nobody needs to talk about it because nobody was talking about it at all. Lamar Jackson will not be in the MVP conversation the rest of the season.
The rest of the season, I'm going to say false. He's going to get the runs, and running the ball left, he's going to get his carries, he's going to get his touches. Do I think he's going to win it? No. There is his name going to be part of it? Yes.
Out of your mouth, baby.
No.
Out of your mouth. Again, I was hearing nobody talk about Lamar Jackson last week being in the MVP conversation, and then that's what you were bringing up. Everyone's talking about it. I'm so sick of it.
Well,
it's just you.
Well, I listen to Baltimore radio. I listen
that's
to East Coast radio. So
he is so far behind Joe Burrow. He is so far behind Derrick Henry. He's so far behind Kyler Murray, who is running away with it right now. He's so far behind Josh Allen. He's got nothing. No chance. Lamar Jackson.
Zero chance.
Out of the MVP talk. All right, let's look at our NFL Week 7 awards, and you can just put me on repeat. This is like the third time I picked this guy. Cooper Kupp.
How many touchdowns does he have total now?
That's a good question. I'll look it up here in a second. Cooper Kupp, 10 receptions, 156 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Yes, the opponent was not very good. Man, he's been on fire.
809 yards total for him right now on the season. 809, 9 touchdowns. That's just crazy. Averaging 14 yards.
56 receptions.
That's
He's first in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. Just
Cooper Kupp.
Not too bad for a third-round pick out of Eastern Washington.
Cooper Kupp, MVP.
Offensive Player of the Year, at least. Well, it's him and Henry.
Oh, I think so, too. I think you're 100%.
Derrick Henry's going to pass 1,000 yards this week.
Yeah.
He's at 869.
I mean, that was...
Are you on a stat page? I'm going to ask you a trivia question.
I will go off the stat page.
Derrick Henry leading the NFL with 869 rushing yards. How many rushing yards do you think second place has?
Wow. I think who else is there? You just want yardage, right?
Just yard. It's Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's in second.
I would say, and I think Jonathan's right about the 680 mark.
579.
Oh, wow.
290 yards more for Derrick Henry than anyone else in this league.
He's a fourth quarter beast. We talked about it last week. I mean, he just plays so much better in the fourth quarter. Yeah, he had that big run to start things off the other day and jump up on the board. What was it, 70 some odd yards there last week? But dude, to be that far ahead, that's just nuts.
Obviously, I think a lot of people think that Derrick Henry is going to break the rushing record because he has the extra game. But do you think he breaks the record by his 16th game this year? And the record's 2105 by Eric Dickerson.
And he's eight what now?
I just lost 869 in 7 games.
869 in 7 games, and then he also, and you kind of have to look at that schedule.
No, you don't.
You could.
He will run through anybody.
Yeah, well, I think he can get close, but I don't know if he could do it in 16. I think it'll take him all 17 games.
But he will definitely get there. It's just if he gets it before. Hopefully Russell Wilson isn't back yet.
Well, you're just now joining. We've already bashed on Wilson a little bit. Well, not Wilson, but on Smith.
We've already both predicted Jacksonville's going to win that game. All right, who is your player of the week?
That probably makes Eric even happier that we took.
Or we jinxed it and he's upset.
I'm gonna go one way, but I could easily go tandem, and I'll have the numbers to back it up. But I'm gonna give it to Joe Burrow. 23 of 38, 416, 3 touchdowns, an interception. But I mean, he was just making, and I watched the game, and I mean, he was making reads that a seasoned veteran would make. I mean, looking at coverages, Baltimore likes to disguise their coverages, but he was just picking apart that Baltimore defense. But give it to Jamar Chase too, 200 yards. I mean, if I had to, I would love to do a tandem MVPs of the week for me. It's got to be Burrow and Chase.
Yeah, I would have went Chase over Burrow, but I got to go with my Cooper Kupp. He's been fantastic. All right, game of the week, and this was the hardest thing to do on the whole thing.
You and I talked about this on Sunday night, and we were like, where do you go?
I'll take Atlanta, Miami. It was the closest game that wasn't terrible to watch.
Right.
It came down to it. Miami once again had the lead late and then lost it and then couldn't hold on to the victory. So Atlanta with a 30-28 win gets my game of the week and a terrible week.
Yeah, by far probably the worst weeks, and we've been talking about that. But I'm going to go Detroit, LA Rams. The only reason it
was fun.
It was a fun game because it looked like Dan Campbell was just trying to throw the kitchen sink at everything.
Did you read my power rankings?
I have not read the
That's
power
funny
rankings
that you
yet.
said he threw the kitchen sink.
I mean, he threw everything at him with different plays, just different. Okay, now I'm
going to look it up so I'll read it verbatim, but keep going.
But yeah, I mean, he just was trying to make something happen. They were ahead at one point, and they just let the Rams get right back into it. So, are they capable of getting their win? Are they going to get their first win? I sure hope so, Detroit. But looking at their schedule last night, I don't think they will. I mean, they might get one win.
You were the one that did Detroit. I had the idea for Detroit, and then it was the one that you had it. But I was going to say that I even saw a kitchen sink on the field.
Yeah. But, I mean, everything Dan was trying, he was trying.
Or maybe I put it on the Rams one. That's who they were playing. And maybe that's where I used it.
You probably did.
But I will say right now, another prediction and another giving away of my picks. Detroit gets their first win on Sunday.
You think so?
Yep. Play Philadelphia.
That'll be interesting, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I said Detroit threw everything at the Rams. I think I saw a kitchen sink on the field in the third quarter.
Yeah.
But no, I love Dan Campbell. Fantastic coach. They just aren't able to get that win yet. I think they get it. I think they finally get win number 1
against Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
In I think
it's in Detroit.
In Detroit. Yeah, I was gonna say it's up at Detroit.
So speaking of pick'ems, we both go 9-4 last week. Thank you to Indianapolis for getting me back to the tie after Miami blew their lead. I'll let you have it. You still have a 6-game lead on me. You're having a great season.
I could have made a 2-point swing, but that weather was terrible.
That was
oh my god, that was nasty,
horrible. But you're at 74-33 on the year. That's pretty.
Can you believe?
Good.
Can you believe we've already had 107 games this season?
Oh yeah,
that's just nuts.
It's going by quick. But I'm at 68-39. Thursday night prediction. This is the good one. Green Bay Packers at the Arizona Cardinals again with no Adams. And last week I went against my home team on Thursday night. Idea did not work out for me, so I'm going back home. Give me Arizona.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to take Arizona, and even with, and I was just updating, I was looking at it, even with the chance that Adams doesn't play right now, it is a 6.5-point favorite for Arizona. I still think that Arizona is just the stronger of the two teams, and so I know my friend Stormy is probably going to be at that game. She's excited for it. She was talking about it, but I think Kyler Murray just handles everything about Aaron Rodgers and him coming into Arizona.
Free A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon freed the football out of his hands twice.
Yes, he did. Thank you very much, because I was playing against him in one of my fantasy leagues. Yeah.
I won a league with A.J. Dillon on my league or on my team, and I felt like I was a god. Get a negative points. I should have just played myself. All right, let's get into some local sports. Let's start with the high school football. Let's start on the Washington side. And actually, I have to say this right now.
You skipped over your game of 8 to watch of the week, right?
Okay, crap. Tennessee, Indy for me, Green Bay, Arizona for you.
Okay.
Whatever. I have to say, so I worked at the Tribune Friday night, and I get down there, and I turn on you guys in my ear so I can listen to it. And I'm watching the Lewiston game, which is a blowout. And I turn on a Soton for a second, and that's a blowout. Not a bad weekend
it
for the better teams. So start with the Soton as they got ran over. They lose 47-0. They just couldn't get anything going. The running game for Ritzfield Sprague, Washtuckna, Kalutis, whatever names you want to add to that. What a name for a team. Their running game was ridiculous. Holman talked to me on Friday and just said we were down 21 by the time we got off the bus. It felt like I know they were down a couple starters. It just didn't work out for them. So. And they will play Liberty on Friday at home.
Yeah, and they've only have like 18 boys playing. So I mean, yes, it's a small town. I like the small town football, but when you have no guys to go and play any kind of backup whatsoever, the numbers are just down. And to see, doing that game in Davenport a couple of weeks ago, they had 18 total guys. I mean, that's
need to team up with the Pomeroy kids. Pomeroy kids have been on fire. And
I think their big game of the week is this coming up this week, if I'm not mistaken. So,
how did your Bantams do?
Well, Clarkson was. I think they got a little ahead of themselves. They go up to West Valley, and they lose 28-14. But West Valley's running game just was crazy. They had kind of like the same idea of what Prosser was last year. They've got one big guy, 6'2", 6'3", pounds the ball. Barker just was able to just take it deep. And then they had one guy that was all about breaking it outside with the speed. And so, and they ran it out of a shotgun and then two running back split. I mean, so you never knew which direction they were going to go. And most of the time they ran to the opposite side. So it was just crazy to watch that one. Bantams had a chance to cut it back down to a tie game. They got up late in the fourth, so they blocked a field goal. Craziest play I've ever seen in any high school game. And it was still the talk of people in the parking lot there after the game. But late in the fourth, Bantams get up. They block the field goal. And the ball does not go past the line of scrimmage. It just dies there at the line of scrimmage. Everybody stops except one West Valley player. He picks it up, runs it in 28 yards for a touchdown. I had never seen a play like that before. I talked to two of the other coaching staff, both of them for Clarkson, and then I also talked to the AD for West Valley, and all of us never had seen anything like it before. And so then West Valley goes up 2 scores and pretty well over then. Carter Stein had 222 yards, another decent game for Carter, 2 touchdown passes. Christian Howell, 132 yards in receiving. So, but the big one, Landon Taylor was held to just 33 yards. He's been averaging 100 yards plus a game, and he's held under 40 yards. And then the Bantams do lose their main linebacker, Carson Patterson, to an ankle injury early in the second quarter. So did talk to Dad a little bit earlier on Sunday, but it'll be interesting to see if he even gets to play this week against Shadle Park. And it's going to be a huge game with playoff implications.
Speaking of playoff implications, Lewiston gets completely destroyed by Coeur d'Alene on Friday. They lose that one 38-7, which created a three-way tiebreaker in the league between Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, and Lewiston. LC just could not, or not LC, Lewiston just could not get anything going. Their run game got completely shut down. Their momentum was completely non-existent. And I don't think they've seen a passing game like that all season long. Coeur d'Alene, I was able to watch some of that game. Just completely, they outplayed Lewiston for sure. So they created the three-way tiebreaker, which was decided yesterday. And the Kansas City tiebreaker, which we were having a lot of fun at the trivia going, why don't they just do a Texas Tornado tag team match? Like, come up with something sillier than that. So it's just it's like a round robin. Each team faces each team in like a college football overtime rules, but you start at the 40 the first time, and then I guess you get closer and closer if needed. It was never needed on these. I think the Lewis and Coeur d'Alene one went to a second one, but Lewiston beat Post Falls in theirs. Coeur d'Alene also beat Post Falls, which eliminated Post Falls from competition. And then Coeur d'Alene does beat Lewiston, so Coeur d'Alene gets the top seed in the league. Lewiston will get the second seed, which means the Bengals will face Capital on Friday. It will be at home, which is kind of surprising when you're the 2 seed from the north, but we will take it. So that will be at Bingo Field at 7 p.m. on Friday. And the first round of the 5A state playoffs, the winner gets to take on Rigby. And we will see if Lewiston can get on a run, and maybe we'll get a Lewiston Coeur d'Alene rematch in the championship game.
Yeah, lots of things going on. All 3 of those teams are at home this week. But Clarkson's in the same scenario. I mean, they really need to beat Shadle Park, and hope that West Valley and East Valley both lose. And so there is a possibility that Clarkson plays the same kind of scenario, Kansas City tiebreaker, for the second playoff position out of So, well, they said that was a secondary if they make it that far, because of West Valley and East Valley have not played each other yet this year because of COVID situations. So they're a game behind anyway, but with the loss records, there's a possibility, and talking with Shannon Wilson about that, there is a possibility that the 3 have to meet at a neutral field next week before stuff happens with the state tournament. So it'll be interesting.
Always fun. All right, let's get into the college sports and look at LCSE first. And what a week it was for the LCSE volleyball team. They needed to get back on the winning side, and they did in a big way. 3 huge wins to keep their playoffs hopes alive. They sweep Walla Walla on Tuesday, a big sweep against Evergreen on Friday, and then a fantastic 5-set struggle with Northwest, with the Warriors coming out on top. So right now, LCSE is at 14-12 overall, 9-9 in Cascade Conference play. And that puts the Warriors in a 3-way tie. The 3-way ties are all over the place, but the Warriors are in a 3-way tie for the last playoff spot with Evergreen and College of Idaho. Northwest currently 1 game ahead of that trio. Southern Oregon currently 2 games out of that trio. LCSE does own the tiebreaker over both right now, so that is going to be an extra leg up for them. And this week are 2 games on the road that they should win. They are Friday at Multnomah at 7 p.m. and then Saturday at 5 p.m. they take on Warner Pacific. Both are in the lower part of the conference. Those are 2 must-win games, because the week after next is, the final weekend of the regular season. It's the final homestand of the regular season. And it's not only against Bushnell, who's the 3rd best team in the conference, but it's against Corbin on senior night on Saturday, November 6th. Is that my math right?
Yep.
And Corbin's not only the best team in the conference, they're like the 5th best team in the country. Yeah. So you got to win these 2, so you're not forced to win both next week. So again, LC Friday and Saturday taking on Multnomah and Warner Pacific. Evergreen will be taking on Corbin and Bushnell, the 2 teams that I just said LC will play in their season finale weekend. So hopefully Evergreen kind of falls out of it. College of Idaho will be facing Oregon Tech and Southern Oregon this week. And then I know College of Idaho and Evergreen will face in that final weekend as well. What are you celebrating over there?
I just looking at some stats. We were talking. I still was waiting for my computer to catch up, but looking at Pomeroy, I was just the numbers that team has put up with just 101, 104 in one. Their lowest scoring 50 in one game. They've averaged 75 over the past couple weeks. So
but that team is very, very
crazy.
good. Basketball going in full bore starting tomorrow. We had the exhibition game against Seattle recently, but now they count.
Yep.
They will have a doubleheader against Yellowstone Christian both Wednesday and Thursday at 5:30 p.m. over there at the Activity Center. Definitely come by on Wednesday for trick or treat with the Warriors. You're encouraged to wear costumes, to have a costume contest, give out candy and stuff. I think I'm going to bring Addie down.
There you go.
And I don't know if she'll make it to halftime, but bring her down and try to have some fun. We'll see how that goes. And then women's basketball actually starts next Tuesday. While we're on the air, they'll be over there at the Activity Center taking on Whitman. And that one starts at 5:30.
Do you think there's a way that we can go and set up and watch from the conference room? So then we can take the portable system over there. We got to get, we can make things work, right?
Something like that. I don't know. I'll talk to Alicia.
See
what you can do.
I mean, that'd be awesome. Try to figure some way to do that. That'd be awesome.
As far as college football goes in the area, well,
is Idaho's season done yet? That's what I want to know.
They got easier games coming up.
A little bit. Weber State.
Arizona's a winnable game, I guess. Idaho lost. Eastern Washington, shocking loss to Weber State. Gives Eastern Washington their first loss, 35-34. They're on a bye week this week. And then WSU in the game that I told you BYU is going to win that game. They just didn't cover the 3.5 spread because they only won by 2. We'll get in that in a moment. I'm grumpy. WSU does lose that game. It was fun. It was a close game. And with all of the distractions next week at Arizona State, I think the last time I saw a spread, it was like 16.
I think that's pretty darn close.
A bit rough. So that is your college football for the local areas.
15.5.
15.5. And I probably would still take Arizona State.
And that's why I didn't put it on our picks this week. No, but how about Berryer? Berryer, out of Eastern Washington. One stat that I saw this week, and it was just kind of crazy as I was researching everything because that game was not on TV, and so it was tough to try to get up with everything. But this was his first game of the season where he was held under 250 yards and completed less than 50% of his passes. This guy has averaged, 400, 500. He had that 600-yard game last week. I mean, just everybody has a down day, but when a down day is that's 248 yards and less than 50%. I mean, but hats off for Weber State coming and winning that one by 1, but it's crazy.
Mama said there would be days like that. Yeah. You are listening to the R&R Sports Report right here at KLCZ 88.9 FM Lewiston, currently 53 degrees outside. You can also check us out on the R&R Sports Report Facebook and YouTube pages. Definitely go and give us a follow there, like Khalil Stevenson did after his guest appearance 2 weeks ago. And again, the Warrior Man will be in action Wednesday and Thursday. Come chat with us over there on Facebook. Have some fun as we get into some college football now. Was college football as bad as the NFL this week? Or was I just so upset at the overtime rule that I looked at the weekend and
I think
grumpy glasses.
Honestly, for me, I think it was a snowball effect because Friday was a rough day for all area high school, except for Pomeroy. Pomeroy's still crushing everybody, but
yeah,
I mean, Lewiston gets handled quite well by Coeur d'Alene. Everything local Friday night lost, and then local Saturday lost, except for the Warriors, the volleyball team, which both of us watched. But I mean, for me, it just felt like that. I mean, it was like no games were worth anything to chat about, and nothing that.
Yeah, I thought the Oklahoma State game was good. I thought Oklahoma State kind of got hosed on a spot, but there's nothing you can really do there. But that game I thought was kind of entertaining. You watched the Wake Forest Army game, which had a ridiculous amount of points in it. So that game was pretty good. Miami and North Carolina State came down to the wire, so that's kind of fun. So maybe it is just me being completely bitter because I watched the Illinois-Penn State game.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I despise anything more than what college football now does in overtime.
I missed that. I don't remember where I was at. I was watching the Wake Forest game, but after that I had to leave.
If you did not see, Illinois pulled the upset over number 7 Penn State on the road in 9 overtimes, and the final score was 20-18. So the way they do it now, it used to be just okay. You get at the 25. Each team gets a chance with the ball. If you end up with the same score, you do it again. And then after the third overtime, then you have to go for 2. And then you just go on and go on and go on. And they're like, no, this still takes too long. So instead, the first overtime, it's normal, just the way it was before. The second overtime, you have to go for 2. The third overtime is just a 2-point conversion from the 3-yard line. And you do that until you finally get a winner. Which is fine. I don't mind that if it's like the 6th or 7th overtime and you're finally just whatever. Or, you know what? Ties are not terrible. I have no problems with a regular season tie. Period.
Right.
Do an overtime period. If you're still tied after that, move on. What drove me so nutty about this, not only just did Illinois and Penn State not be able to score ever. They both scored on the 2 overtimes where it was normal drives from the 25. They both kicked field goals, so they both scored 6 points there. And then you went like 6 overtimes in a row where neither team could score from the 3. But what's even worse is you would have Illinois run a play from the 3-yard line and throw an interception. Penn State would go out there. They'd throw an interception or an incompletion from the 3-yard line. But then Penn State would get the choice of what side of the field they got to use, and they wanted to be by the student section. So we watched 2 plays, and then we watched everyone on the field walk down to the other side of the field, and then you'd run 2 more plays from the 3-yard line. And then Illinois got their choice of what side of the field they wanted to play on. And, of course, they wanted to be away from the student section. So then you would walk all the way back down. This overtime took way too long. And especially for only 18 extra points to be scored in the game. We have to do something better. Or just get rid of it and be cool with ties. What is wrong with the tie?
From a stat standpoint, that's terrible. I mean, you want a winner, or you a loser. I mean, you're chasing half games everywhere. Then you're gonna have somebody that's gonna end up winning by a half game and crush somebody's season. And I understand that. Yeah, I mean, you need to win the game. Bottom line, that's why we play them. We're playing the game, but I hate the idea of chasing a half game. There's got to be something. You're not chasing
a half a game. It's going to give you more incentive of, I have to go for this because if we tie this, it's as bad as a loss, and we cannot tie. So now we have to win it right here. Instead of, all right, well, we'll just kick the field goal. We'll go to overtime. Win the game. Or don't. You get a tie. But that game probably took an extra hour just to do those overtimes.
Well,
it was bad TV. It was bad entertainment. It was bad football. It was terrible.
I think it was worse TV, and I went back and watched the highlights of it after
The lowlights.
the lowlights of it. But number 17 giving up 350 some yards.
That's not bad.
That's in rushing. That's what
That's a little bad.
Yeah, in rushing, and we got one guy that had more rushing yards than all of Penn State. I mean, it should have never got to that point. I think Illinois should have easily defeated them a lot earlier. But yeah, it goes back to the idea they need to do this. They've got to figure something out. You know, whether it's the old school, put them back into 15-minute, or it's the idea of, I don't want to do the one possession thing anymore. Put it back on the clock. If we get back on the clock there at the end, then
I don't even care if you go back to the old system and everyone gets it to 25 and you just go until the scoring is different. That's fine with me. But what you're doing right now, you might as well just play hopscotch and figure out who wins it there.
And throw a kitchen sink out there too.
Something. It's just I dislike this overtime rule more than any other overtime rule in all of sports. It's insane. You put on this note, and I'm already in a mood with the overtime thing, so I'm going to go off on you on a little bit of a rant. You put on our notes, it's time to start talking about bowl games.
I can't.
No, it's not.
There's only 4 weeks left.
And 87 teams make bowl games.
It's time to start talking about the Idaho Potato Bowl. Just saying.
It's going to be Florida and Louisiana Tech.
On the blue turf.
Sure. I don't care right now because everyone gets in. It's not even you have to be over 500 to get in.
No, not anymore.
There's so many bowls. They're like, well, this SEC team went like 4-8, but they're SEC. We'll let them in. Sure.
You gotta add a little fire.
What drives me absolutely insane is everyone going, the playoffs are killing the bowls. No, the bowls are killing the bowls because there's too many. It's just
the only reason I put it in there is because I saw an article already of who's already going to make the playoffs, and we'll talk about the playoffs here in a minute. But
Billy Kite says it perfectly. It's participation awards. I still say you take the 2 worst colleges and you send them to Hawaii. That's it. You have your playoffs. You have a couple of the traditional bowls, and then you have the poop bowl over there in Hawaii between Arizona and I can't even think of another team right now. UMass or something. Harry's over here. Go Braves. We are talking baseball on this show, but the Braves are kicking butt. Braves up 5-0 right now in the bottom of the 4th.
Now I want to know who was Harry's player of the week in the college field. What game was it interested? I mean, let us know, Harry.
Harry's a Penn State fan. So.
I know. Was it the Illini that win? I mean, I know. I'm trying to poke at him like you poked at me earlier with the whole Lamar thing.
Listen, shout out to Eric and Harry who are both in the chat right now. From the kickoff, they're every Wednesday night, Thursday morning over there at the W2M network. And I give them 2 minutes of their show every week. And that's the best show. The Pillow Fight Bowl? Sure. I don't care what you call it. I just think if you're the 2 worst teams, just give them something. Send them to the Bahamas. I don't care. But what I want to see with the Bulls is I want to see, you take these northern teams and then you send them to someplace hot at the end of the year. And then you take all these Florida teams that aren't good enough to make the playoffs. So take Florida and Texas Tech. And then you make them go play in Alaska. Go play in something you're not comfortable with at all. If we're going to go crazy with these bowls and have 58 of them.
So we're going to have the Aaron Rodgers to Florida thing. Is that what we're saying?
I don't know what I'm saying. I've lost my complete mind. The overtime rule has completely made me lose it.
No, I said the word bowl games. That's even almost to the crest of
UMass and UConn. That's another good one. That's UMass and UConn. That is a bowl game that you may see at some point with how many bowl games.
Where's my wife coming from? We're not even talking New Orleans
She
anymore.
missed it, but the Saints did beat the Seahawks, and every time that somebody beats the Seahawks, we'll bring it up at any point in the show. I have no problem with it.
She asked me the other day who the quarterback is of New Orleans.
Jameis, and unfortunately his sponsorship with LASIK fell through because he has not been very good.
No,
this year.
Not at all.
Right now, your AP top 10. You have Georgia, Cincinnati, Alabama, Oklahoma, and Ohio State right now are the top 5, and then Michigan. Oregon is 7, which is surprising. Michigan State, Iowa, and Ole Miss. Anyone in that bottom 5 there have a chance to make the playoffs right now?
I think it all depends on what happens this week.
Mhm.
Number 6, number 8. I really think that this might be a slingshot for one of them to really get pushed up. I'm going to
especially if you can beat Ohio State on top of it.
I'm going to pull Michigan State. I think Michigan State's got a chance to get up there in that top 4. You know,
and I'm in the same boat. I think it's whoever wins the Michigan State game has the best chance. Ole Miss maybe 2, just because they're SEC, and they're going to play some tough competition along the way. I don't think Iowa has a chance with the way they've been playing lately. Oregon's up to 7. Fantastic for you. I still think they've blown it. Just because Pac-12 has always struggled.
Oh, I agree. I don't think there's anybody in the Pac-12 that'll make any kind of a push, especially Oregon. I mean, there's still a chance that they don't even get. They'll pick up at least another loss somewhere. But I think the team that shocks me that's in this conversation is Ole Miss. I just never thought that Ole Miss would have been.
Why not?
I think they just. I mean, maybe it's because I haven't followed much of the SEC.
Lane Kiffin, baby.
Oh, brother. Really?
So,
no. I think, though, Michigan State, I mean, we said it earlier in the year, too. You know, it all boils down to this game, but we also said it earlier. This is, I felt kind of like a year that it was going to be John Harbaugh's got to put up or shut up or he's going to be gone from Michigan. I really did at the beginning of the season. He's putting it up right now. So it'll be, I think college-wise, that's the best game of the week.
It's just if they don't choke or not, which this is a week that it can definitely fall down the tubes for sure. and right now, it's a tough road for Michigan. They get Michigan State on the road this week, and November 13th, they get Penn State on the road, and then the big one, November 27th versus Ohio State. That's the game Harbaugh has to win. You have to win that game if you're Harbaugh, because even if you're undefeated going into that game, you lose Ohio State, you might still get canned. All right, let's get into our college pick'ems for this week. Last week, Robert with the big win. You go 3-2.
Yeah, I'm excited about 3-2.
That's what you do when you're going against the spread. Again, if you're around 500, you're good. I'm right at 500 after a terrible 1-4 week. Again, our 2 games that we picked different were just so funny to me because usually the spread comes into play, but our spreads in the games that we picked different were 3 and 3.5. So it's almost a pickup.
Right.
And still, my 2 teams that I pick both win, but they both can only win by 2. So it just wasn't enough. But that's how it goes. So I am 22, 22, and 1 on the year. You are 20, 24, and 1 on the year. So you, sir, got to make the pick.
Just 2 games back. I think I make it up here on Thursday night and I forgot to put the dates on there, but Thursday night. And you notice that every one of my picks this week has a ranked team in it. I did do that on purpose. So I was sitting with Pat Sabot today, the assistant basketball coach at Clarkson, and also the cross-country coach for Clarkson. We were talking about games. It's like, what games stand out to you? And we'll talk about all of them. But this one interests me just because Coastal Carolina, we followed them a little bit. They're taking on Troy. The game is in Coastal Carolina. The spread is 18.5. Who you got?
Coastal Carolina upset after losing to Appalachian State last week. I think they come out and crush Troy. 18.5 is a lot. but give me Coastal Carolina.
Listen, now I put my picks in before you did, so mine were listed here first. I took Troy, knowing I thought you were going to go and they were going to cover. I think Coastal wins, but I don't think they cover the 18.5. So give me Troy. For me, I'm going to skip that one, and we're going to go into the next one. Texas, Baylor. Texas going into Baylor. Baylor right now, number 16. It's a 2.5-point favorite. Who do you got there?
Oh, hey, the Kraken scored. They're up 1-0 over Montreal. There you go. Yay, Kraken. Give me Baylor.
Yeah, I think Baylor takes care of business, and I think they beat them by more than a touchdown myself. Number 1, Georgia takes on Florida. Big rivalry game this week. Who do you got in that one? Florida is at home.
14-point spread for Georgia. I actually looked up the history of this game because obviously it's a big rivalry between the Bulldogs and the Gators. So I was thinking about possibly taking Florida for my picks on the kickoff because you have to have a 7-point spread.
Right.
And I was looking at it, and actually the last several years have been blowouts for either one of the teams. And I think that's the case this year too. I don't think it's close. Like that when we talked about this last week, I think it was off air when we were talking about it, but just, it's a rivalry game, so it might be closer than you think. This rivalry hasn't produced a lot of close games lately, so I'm going to take the Bulldogs to win by more than 14. Sorry, Harry.
I do too. I think it's going to be Georgia, and they're going to really handle Florida. They just have not produce, like you were saying, in this outcome. Even though it's one of the bigger and one of those matchup rivalry games you like to watch.
Yeah.
And I will be sitting watching this game. I've already decided this is the game that I will be watching this week, and I'm excited. I think my cousins are going to this game in Florida, so it'll be interesting. Sorry, Harry. We're Bulldogs all day long. Number 10, Ole Miss taking on number 18, Auburn. Auburn right now is favored by 2. Who do you got?
Listen, the magic number is 2.
Right.
When we pick different, my teams were winning by 2.
Right.
So it's 2. That's enough. So at worst, a push.
After losing a couple by less than last week.
I like Ole Miss, obviously late train, everything like that. But give me Auburn at home.
I think Ole Miss this is a game that they have to win if they want to keep their name in contention to possibly make the playoffs. We'll see. So it will be, and I think it'll be as our old buddy Jim used to say, it's going to be a slobber knocker. Give me Ole Miss in that one. And final game, and we talked about it a few minutes ago, and we both think it is the game of the week. It is number 6 Michigan, who is a 4.5-point favorite over number 8 Michigan State. You're a Harbaugh fan.
I'm not a Harbaugh fan. I'm not, but I think he's going to get things done this year. Harry did say in our chat that he believes Michigan is 2-6 against Ohio State. Michigan State under Harbaugh might even be worse than that. But I'm going to take Michigan. I think if Harbaugh blows it, it will be against Ohio State.
Yeah, good point. I mean, and I've said it at the very beginning of the year, this was a put up, shut up year for John Harbaugh, and he's putting it up, but there's just something about going against the Spartans in the state rivalry game. 4.5. I think Michigan is able to actually. I think they'll beat them outright by at least 3. But give me the Spartans. I took Sparty earlier in the year with our mascot.
So I'm work out for you.
I won that week. I won
every week.
No, because your Stanford tree got chopped down. Remember by Butch.
Mascot wasn't playing the game.
So this week, Randy has Coastal Carolina, Michigan, Baylor, Georgia, and Auburn. I am taking Troy for the upset on Thursday night, and then I'm going to take Michigan State. Also, I have Baylor, Georgia, and then I'm taking Ole Miss. So 3 games different this week. So I can easily take the lead this week.
You could take the lead this week. It'll be really interesting. We'll see how the NFL picks go. I guarantee I won't have a chance to take the lead on that, but maybe I can cut into it. What is the update on the baseball score? Right now, Atlanta leading 5-1 in the top of the fifth inning here in Game 1 of the World Series. So let's get into some baseball talk now. I love it. The best news out of Seattle. Ken Griffey is a partner owner of Seattle. Do you think that really makes any difference at all?
No, I was just stretching because I know how much playoffs for you has been and that, but I think that's a big news for Seattle fans. Hopefully, he gets in there and can help with a little bit of the.
I mean,
Maybe
it's
they
cool.
get a different
It's
guy
a cool
in there.
headline, and it's a buzz. It creates a buzz. I guess, for the fans.
That's what they need. They need a buzz right now. They've got the Kraken that haven't.
But
really
does
done
it mean
anything,
anything as far as the front office goes?
I think he honestly makes and comes up here and spends a little bit more time and doing things. I think he gets involved. I can see him being more of a hands-on owner, taking and being part of this group.
But is that a good thing?
I think it could be. I mean you
has
have
it
a
been
face
good
of a
thing for
franchise.
Jeter? Was it a good thing for Jordan?
Well, listen, you're talking about New York Yankee again. Jordan, Jordan tried to do racing and
Well, he owns a basketball team too.
Well, I know Charlotte, so. But I
was it good for John Elway? He won a Super Bowl because he got Peyton Manning that one year. But other than that, has it been good for him? Just saying, it's a cool story, and I like Ken Griffey Jr. But
I think
I don't think this changes anything for the Mariners.
I think it'll make a little bit of a difference, but not a ton. But I think he'll make a little bit of an impact. I think players will want to come up there knowing and hey, my idol is now running this team. Maybe I can get on here. So it might be a plus.
All right, what is your prediction for this stupid World Series?
This stupid World Series, yeah. And listen, the Seattle Mariners are not there. I don't know why. They should have been there. They should have made it. Anyway,
what world are you living in?
I am going to take the Braves just because I watched them grow up the same way you did. It was all on TBS. It was all Ted Turner, but I had the few years prior to your 90 chop and all that. But I was watching with Dale Murphy, Greg Hubbard was playing. So give me Atlanta in 6.
Give me I don't care in 0 games. That's how many games.
That's not an answer.
That's how many games I'm going to watch.
But that's not an answer.
I don't care.
You
give me Atlanta in 7 because I don't want to say Houston ever. A couple semi-breaking pieces of news. ESPN both reporting that Alan Lazard has joined Devontae Adams on the Packers COVID list. So that'll be big for the Thursday game. And also the Washington football team report will not be released, according to Roger Goodell. So take that as you will. Seattle still have 1-0 over Montreal halfway through the first period there as they're trying to get their second win of the season. Let me double check. Yeah, they're 1-4-1 right now.
How much NBA have you watched so far yet?
I watched the overtime of Boston and New York on the Knicks opener.
Your Knicks won tonight. Yes. They're 3-1.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. You and I don't watch a lot of NBA or even talk much NBA.
No.
Can they keep it up?
I don't know. If they play like they did in the first 2 minutes of the overtime that I watched against Boston, absolutely.
Right.
If they play like the next 8 minutes they had in the first overtime and the rest of the second overtime, absolutely not. It was the weirdest flip in that game where the first 2.5 minutes of that first overtime, Boston and New York were just hitting everything. Like the action was fun. It was fantastic. And then the rest of it was just horrible. It reminded me why I do not watch.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You're watching these guys just throw up silly numbers. Would it be any different? And as much, I think that's when I really quit watching. Is after Jordan retired, but also when Seattle lost their team. I mean, would it be different for me? I think if they had a team, maybe. But I really still haven't even got into watching.
Welcome back, Parker.
I really haven't even watched any of a Kraken game yet.
I need to figure out my ESPN Plus situation. We were looking at that,
too.
and
I haven't asked Tori.
We signed up for Disney Plus for the year, and I can't figure out how to change my subscription.
Whoops.
So
I
might have to just get it separately.
I gotta ask Tori to have her put the password into the smart TV, and then I can pull it up. The only thing bad is, can I watch something if they're already watching Disney Plus? Can I watch on a different?
Yeah, I think we can have multiple. I don't know. I'm sure there's a limit, but I'm sure you can have more than one.
All right, Denise, get on that and call our daughter and get our Disney Plus and put it on the TV. Then I can watch Kraken. Maybe I can get more
You need
involved.
Disney Plus, you need ESPN Plus.
Well, they're part of the same thing. I think she
if you
had
get the full thing.
I think she has the full
And
thing.
you get Hulu Plus and ESPN Plus.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
think she
good
has it all.
package. We got rid of it because I just wasn't watching anything, and then all of a sudden ESPN was like, "Hey, 80% of hockey will be on ESPN Plus." So I just got to get it figured out.
Huge hockey weekend up in Spokane. I know the Chiefs are up this weekend. I had a couple of employees. They want to go and make a road trip on Saturday, go up and watch a game. I don't know. That'd be nice.
The bundle.
The bundle.
All right, let's get into it. The draft that I am so
Dude, I'm
excited to talk about. You, sir, got to pick this week, and I give you an applause, sir. You picked well.
Listen, my glasses are all fogging up again because I got excited because we're talking about this. This was one that, you know, it kind of hinted on.
And I hope Harry and Eric are still sticking around because I want to get their thoughts as well.
Well, and I really hope they chime in once they see stuff tomorrow. But for me, we said something, and I told you before we left here. I said, "Here's my idea. Some of the best baseball memories I ever have was listening to people call a game, and to hear just one call. Not, I mean, entire games, but." That voice that just sticks in your head, and you'll always remember it.
There's a reason why you and I both do play-by-play.
Yeah, there's just something that just brings you into it. And so I decided, you know what, we're just finishing up the CSs for baseball. We were just finishing and getting ready to go into the World Series, and so I figured out it's time. It's time to figure out what is Major League Baseball's best call or moment from the standpoint of a broadcaster.
Yes.
That's the base of it. It's through. Oh yeah, and that's the thing.
Oh, there's so many to go through. I went through so much fun.
Well, and you and I did this after we left here on Tuesday. So I mean, we were still doing stuff for the show, you know, well into 11 o'clock there on last week, and I started YouTube and everything, and doing that. And
so first off, promote the video that we're going to post tomorrow, and who is nice enough to edit it for us.
So I'm blessed. I get to work with an unbelievable guy that does a lot of technical stuff for the school district, and he helped me produce. He pretty much produced it. I told him my thoughts on it, what we wanted to do, and so David Walk This Way. What? We haven't even got through there. Something happened. What happened?
Are you talking about best calls? Haley puts out of the park. Oh wait, what did I get wrong there? The John Sterling call for the Stanton home run that was not in the AL wild card game. I honestly was just talking about that call when I was talking to Lee McVay today.
That's funny. But David Walk from Walk This Way Media helped me put together a compilation of all the videos of each one of these moments, and we went through and looked at. But you and I back and forth on which calls stood out and made a difference in the things we do and what we listen to and how we feel. And so I had the pick. You got to go first. So I am going to let you. And I think you and I agree. These by far are 1 and 2, and they're interchangeable. I really do. Yes. I think these two are the two top picks, and I don't think we'll have anybody that disagrees with us. We will show a video, and it was produced by Dave Walk. We'll post that about 10 o'clock tomorrow. The video will come out. You can watch the video on our Facebook page. And then you'll
put it on YouTube. It'll be all over the place. We'll have some fun with it.
But let us know. Yeah,
I want to know you guys' best calls because there were so many to pick from. Obviously, we say that a lot when it got to helmets and mascots or food. It's like there's so much to choose from. There are thousands of fantastic calls, and especially when you're like the elite of the elite, there's still dozens that we are going to miss here. But you're right. The top two, I think, are head and shoulders above the others, and that's why you hear them all the time. And for me, and you're going to see that a lot with my three picks in this, is I like it when a commentator lets a moment breathe. You get in, you get out, and you let the moment speak for itself.
Right.
Even on the radio, where you can, if you can hear the crowd, I still think my best commentator moment that I've had so far was during one of the Golden Throne games, where it was really, really intense. I think the boys won for Lewis and the girls won for Clarkston. It was going to come down to all the donations, and it was really, really close. And I remember just going, the crowd will let you know who wins. Or like right as you're getting ready to announce it, and then I never said anything for 45 seconds and just let it breathe, and that's
when I stalled out. Remember that? I think
I
remember.
Waited forever
I stalled out on that, and just kind of you could feel the anticipation just getting
and then
there.
I know that they could hear you say who won, and then the crowd went nuts. That was my proudest moment, and it's one of those where you just don't say a lot. It's also why, to go back into the wrestling world, I hate Chris Jericho doing commentary because he doesn't let a moment breathe. He just yells over everything, and it just drives me nuts. And this is coming from a big Jericho fan.
And you said that same moment with you there, and I even talked about our moment that you and I had calling a football game. And I was up there this last week. It's still probably one of my favorite games ever to call was Caden Frazier. So Caden Frazier coming back in overtime to win for the Bantams on a 2-point conversion.
And Dennis loves me.
Yeah, oh my God! Yes, I know. I feel sorry. But I tell you what, that was probably one of the best games that you and I had ever done. And we had done baseball. We had done football.
All right, but so let's get into the people that are actually good at this.
All right.
With the first pick for me is Vince Scully. Again, letting a moment breathe. The Kirk Gibson walk-off home run. In an impossible season, the improbable has happened, and then just lets it breathe and lets it go while he rounds the bases. And then once he gets home, then he once again kind of says the rest of the situation, but just Vince Scully is the best that's ever done it. I mean, his voice is so iconic, and so many people now try to imitate his cadence, and I don't think anyone ever will. Vince Scully was so good, and that call, anytime you get huge baseball moments, any kind of compilation, this home run is going to be part of it, and it's because of the Vince Scully call.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree 100%. He's just that man for the sport. Doesn't matter what game he did, he brought that element of, and if most of you know, he was in the booth by himself on most all of his games. He never had anybody in there. He did his own stats. He did all of this. And to be in that moment for that game alone, I couldn't argue with you having that pick. And if you went a different way, that was my very first pick too. So,
all right, give me your first pick.
And I'm way too young to remember this call. But you know it by heart. And I know it by heart because, and probably because it's such an, I don't want to say overplayed, because it's one of the best calls ever called in baseball. And I heard it, and I remember hearing it the first time off of a television show. And off that television show, they played it, and I've watched it so many times. And then you hear it from the radio call, and now you tie it into the picture of it, and then that's the best thing. And so for my first picks, it's got to be Russ Hodges' call of Bobby Thompson's home run, the shot heard around the world. I mean, at that time, America and the United States was in the police action of Korea, and there was so many people around the world stationed different places, and Armed Force Radio brings this game up, and that's the only game happening right now and to have that moment of hearing Russ Hodges just, the Giants win the pennant. The Giants win the pennant.
He said it like
and
47 times.
He said it 4 times in a row. Then he kind of stopped for a second and then he talks about it. And then he's right back in. The Giants win the pennant 2 more times. But that's one of those calls too, just like Vin Scully. I mean, you know that sound of his voice as soon as he started talking.
I agree that this was the second best call in baseball history. The Scully call and the Hodges call could not be any more different.
I agree.
Scully let the crowd show all of the emotion and the craziness, and his voice was still at that normal Scully level. Meanwhile, Russ Hodges let his emotions go, and it was exciting to hear it. And you could just picture him in the booth jumping around while making that call because he was so excited. So, yeah, absolutely. I think it is by far the second best baseball call. So, again, like you, if you had somehow went any other direction, I was ready to scoop it up. And you were not nice enough to let me do that. But that's okay. So, again, we're doing the best MLB baseball calls of all time. It is now my second pick. And this is where it got so much harder.
Yeah.
Because there's so many on this, like, next level that just – it was so hard to pick from. But another one that just sticks out to me, and maybe it's just because of how old I am and like the early 90s.
I'd say, how old were you at that time?
I'm 9, I think, at this point. But this is right when I'm like really, really getting into sports and really, really getting into the play-by-play stuff. And this is probably around the time where I'm playing like Tecmo Super Bowl and doing my own play-by-play while I'm playing. That was just what I did as a kid.
Right.
But Tom Cheek calling the Joe Carter walk-off, which, again, is just an iconic baseball moment, as it's a home run to win the World Series. And Toronto wins back-to-back World Series off of that swing. And, again, kind of letting the moment breathe for a little bit. And then as he's getting ready to touch third, he hits him with the touch 'em all, Joe. You'll never hit a bigger home run in your life. And that was the call. Like, he let the crowd go nuts for the home run, probably so he could jump around and go crazy. And then just simple and perfect, and spoke about exactly how big of a moment that was, not just for Joe Carter, but for Toronto for winning back-to-back years. So that's what I get from these kind of iconic calls, is just, again, I remember watching this
I remember
as a
watching
kid
it too.
But even if not, like, my kid could watch it and understand how big of a moment that was just by the way that Cheek was able to deliver that call. So that is why it's my second.
Yeah, I was in college then. That was my second year of college. So I remember going home after school, and finishing up all my homework just where I could be able to sit and watch this game. So
Haley's sweating over there because I think she was 3 when that call came out.
Well, just 3. That's it.
She was 3 years old.
3 years old. That's just
not
crazy.
even 3 yet. She was going to turn 3 that year.
That's crazy.
So there you go. Make you feel old.
Yeah, Tom Cheeks. I mean, and if you I got the goosebumps as I put the video together.
Yeah.
And watching the towel spin. I think that was the biggest thing for that moment that I remember him rounding the bases and seeing all of those white towels in the dome up there, and just it was just crazy to relive that once again. Now you told me with my number 2 that I could have easily waited.
Yeah, I wasn't going to pick this one. It's a good call. It's brutal for me to think about.
I mean, it is. I mean, all I've got to do is say 2 names, and you know exactly which call I'm going with. Jack McDowell, Edgar Martinez. I mean, right there, you can stop every Seattle fan.
I was going to say every
Seattle fan knows that. And it doesn't matter. And after a season in which you were so far down, and for a city to jump on the board, because we didn't know if Seattle was going to have a team that next couple of years, because they were getting to the point where they were talking about moving the team out of Seattle. And it was like, this ball club, it goes back to refuse to lose. I mean, that was the slogan there. It was refuse to lose. And so for me, and I miss this voice as we've had so many different now announcers for the Seattle Mariners, but there was something about hearing Dave Niehaus call that double of Edgar Martinez and hearing him send in Junior. Here comes Junior around in second. He's going for third, and they're waving him home, and to hear the Mariners are playing for the American League Championship. And it was just like there was almost a relief feeling of this team came back from being so far down to revitalizing a city and getting the excitement back in to a city that had lost kind of the momentum of any kind of sports to have. And I know that's against your
yeah, of course,
New York
and of course,
Yankees, but that was Game
hurts.
5 of the ALDS.
So, but actually, as far as the call goes, my only argument for it not to be technically our fourth pick overall on this is because while the moment was huge, and you laid it out perfectly for how important that was for the Seattle franchise, that might not have been in Seattle much longer if they didn't get things turned around. And as how good if we were just picking broadcasters, Dave Niehaus is in our draft.
Oh, easy
for sure, even on mine. And I can't stay in Seattle sports, but listening to a lot of Niehaus games over the radio, dude's a legend, absolutely fantastic. Everyone's going to remember the Grand Salami.
I was going to say the Grand Salami that we could have easily went that one with Game 4.
But I think so. It's an iconic voice, and it's an iconic moment. I don't think it was an iconic call. I don't think, again, because when you say Dave Niehaus, that's not the first call you think of. You think of Grand Salami, I think. Me personally.
Right.
It's still a fantastic call for a fantastic moment. And for a Seattle fan, I totally get it. But that would be my one argument for it. Is I think when you say his name, that's not the call you think of. When you say Vince Scully, most likely the Kirk Gibson home run is going to be the one you remember. Honestly, if you tell people Russ Hodges' name, unless you're an older baseball fan, they might not even know who he is.
Right.
But, I mean, you could say shot heard around the world, and a lot of baseball fans will know exactly what that is. You say Dave Niehaus, and they're going to say, oh, yeah, the Grand Salami guy, not the guy they called double.
I mean, yeah, he was known as that guy that said every Grand Slam it was that way. But I think he did do the main Grand Salami, the one, and it happened the game prior.
Again, I brought up the cadence for Vince Scully. Dave Niehaus's cadence is one of the best. His voice was fantastic. It's still weird to me listening to Mariner games on the radio and how many people they've hired that sound like Niehaus.
Yeah.
Like, I'll even be listening to a game, and then, like, they'll switch people in the sixth inning, and it sounds like the same person every time. Like, they just that's what you have to be.
Yeah,
if you sound like Niehaus, you get hired for the Mariners.
And Rick Riz is the only guy that's still there from the early time with him. So it's exciting to have him there. But
Eric is with me. He remembers the moment better than the call. It's fair. And again, I can't blame you as far as being a Mariners fan, because that call is part of your memory, and I totally get it. So I asked you, because again, we were watching so many clips last Tuesday. So I asked you for clarification if this was allowed. And you allowed it.
I did. I think it's a huge
because
part
the
of
moment,
history.
it's so cool. It was. I didn't even realize, because I've heard the Jack Buck call and I've heard the Joe Buck call, but never have I ever put the two together for whatever reason until I found a clip where they talked about it during the game. So to set it up, the first call I was going to put on here, and then I was still going through and watching others to see if there was anything else. But Jack Buck calling the Kirby Puckett's home run to force Game 7. I've said it on every single one of my picks. Keep it simple, get out of the way, let the moment breathe. And again, Jack Buck does that. Kirby Puckett hits one to left center, and that's all it is. Kirby Puckett, left center, we will see you tomorrow night. Never says another word. And I don't know if he's cut it down, but the first cut you showed me, as far as the video goes, he shows Kirby Puckett round the bases, have the celebration at home, and they're still celebrating going to the dugout. And still, Jack Buck doesn't say a word. It's be perfect, just exclamation mark on the moment. We'll see you tomorrow night. There's going to be a Game 7. Put the headset down, walk off, let the video do the rest of the talking. So then you move 20 years later. and it is Game 6 between Texas and St. Louis. And I'm now blanking on who Joe Buck was calling on. Tim McCarver, right?
Yep, Tim McCarver.
Tim McCarver in like the 4th inning just randomly brings up Joe Buck's dad's call from 20 years before. And they show a picture of Jack Buck because, of course, he called for the Cardinals for a long time as well. And they were just kind of talking about it. And like, what a great moment it was and what a great call. And Joe, of course, remembers it. And they have a nice little conversation. Later on in that same game, the exact same situation happens. David Freese, right center field, will see you tomorrow night. Just the goosebumps I get, like putting those two together and realizing what an homage to his dad, who, again, say what you will about Joe Buck, and people are annoyed by his voice, but his dad was iconic. And Joe Buck, I think, is a very good announcer. He's just overused in sports. It's not like it used to be where we get all these different people in moments like World Series is Joe Buck. Every Sunday or every Thursday is Joe Buck. Every big game on Sunday is Joe Buck. Joe Buck is on every Saturday baseball game on Fox. When Fox has a Super Bowl, it's Joe. I think he's just got a little oversaturated.
The same thing happened, and not to take away from the moment, but the same thing happened with Michael Buffer. I really think that same exact thing happened with Michael Buffer, and he still to this day is one of my favorite boxing announcers ever. But I think they just overplayed him, and I think that's what.
And then when WCW not only brought him for every pay-per-view, they were bringing him on Nitros, and it got a bit overused.
And I think that's what.
But just this call again, the tribute to his dad on top of it is the exact same call, almost exactly 20 years later. It's just. It was too good not to put it as a combo on this list.
Yeah, and I applaud you doing both of them. And when I did the research behind both of them, I'm like, yeah, we've got to do it because, to be almost exactly 20 years to the day that happened. And I think the bigger thing for me is knowing, and you could almost tell that Joe was kind of reaching for. He didn't know if that home run was going because it was more center field. He waited a little bit, so he stretched it just a little bit longer than what his dad did. But still, I think hands down that's one of the best combo calls ever. But there's so many of them. I mean, a lot of them. I mean, we're not even bringing up Barry Bonds or Mark McGwire or Sammy Sosa and the home run chase back. And I mean, there's a lot of moments then that could have happened. Same with Boston or Chicago, and both of them won. I mean, there's a lot of moments there. But for my third one, and I go back a little bit older, and this one happened before, so I'm taking two of them that I never saw, in real time. Now I've seen the videos for it, but it has to be Hamilton's call of Hank Aaron's 715th home run. We have a new home run leader. And I mean, and then they give him a minute and he talks about him being the first African-American man that, that's leading a category, but to break Babe Ruth's record and all that. I think that is just one, and to watch him run around the bases. And I think that's where I catch myself maybe that after I watch these and I put these in is maybe I got caught too much in the moment.
Yeah. The call's still good.
Yeah, it's great.
I think, like Eric said with the ALDS, I think the moment beats the call.
Right.
Like, if you just, like the video we put out tomorrow, if you turn your head and don't watch the moment and just hear the call, I don't think the call is as iconic. Just the moment is so good, especially when you get those two fans come up behind Hank Aaron as he rounds second. And again, you got to think of the time period. We're in the 70s. A lot of things are going on in the world.
Yeah, he was still getting.
And Hank Aaron has even said that he was really, really scared when they came up and tapped him on the back. And just for them to tap on the back and just let him go was a very cool moment. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a fantastic moment. It's a very, very good call. But again, there's just so many, and it is very tough to separate the moment from the call, because when the moment is so big, obviously the call is going to go around with it, and that's what you remember. But I want to know, because obviously there's so many we missed. So if you're listening right now, or if you watch this later, or you watch the video tomorrow, let us know your favorite baseball calls. What did we miss? Because there's several. And of course, let us know who won in our draft so I can make fun of Robert next week when I've won 6 in a row. So it will be so I guess we'll go through them real quick. So I took the Vince Scully's Kirk Gibson walk-off home run. Tom Cheeks called Joe Carter, touch 'em all Joe. And then both Jack Buck and Joe Buck saying we will see you tomorrow night, 20 years apart. For Robert, you have the shot heard around the world. You have Dave Niehaus double call for the Seattle Mariners in 1995. And then you have Mila Hampton calling Hank Aaron's 715th home run in 1974. Next week, it'll be my pick. And I have no idea what I'm going to do to come back from this.
And I was sitting there while you were talking about one and talking about just the name Vin Scully. Just the name, and you reached a little bit on Joe Buck getting overused. I think we move that direction. What name fits with which category? I mean, when I think about basketball, first name that pops in my mind is Marv Albert.
Yes.
I mean, and so
as a Knicks fan, absolutely.
College football, there's only one, and that's Keith Jackson. I mean, for me, it's Keith Jackson.
So good. There's so many really good college football.
But you could throw out like Brent Musburger. You could throw out, and I mean, you can talk about the Greek. I mean, there's so many. John Madden. I mean,
John Madden.
I want to start.
John Madden's a bit overrated to me. He had some iconic lines, but that's about it. All right, let's get into some sports that don't get enough airtime, and unfortunately, because that conversation was so much fun, they're not going to get a lot of airtime here as well. Some NHL news. The Chicago Blackhawks president of hockey operations, Stan Bowman, has resigned after investigators released their findings on how the team handled sexual assault allegations against former video coach Brad Aldrich during the 2010 Stanley Cup run. Senior Director of Hockey Administration Al McIsaac is also out, meaning there are no Blackhawks executives involved with the 2010 team remaining with the organization. The league has also said it is fining the team $2 million for the organization's inadequate internal procedures and insufficient and untimely response in the handling of matters related to former video coach Brad Aldrich's employment in the club and ultimate departure in 2010. And update for the Seattle Kraken, they are up 2-1 at the end of the first period, so hoping to get their second win there. Update for the baseball game, Atlanta still leading 5-1 in the middle of the 6th inning. How did golf go?
So golf went across the pond. They ended up going to Japan, and the native Hideki Matsuyama wins that one by 5.5 strokes there in Japan. He shoots 15 under and eagles 2 holes on Sunday just to make sure he wins by 5 strokes. He eagles 6 and 18 to end his day. Behind him and at 10 under was Brendan Steele and Cameron Tringale. Next tournament will be a fun one as they travel down to Bermuda, down to Southampton and Bermuda for the Port Royal Golf Club. But I forgot to add about our buddy Gino.
Yeah, Gino got traded for a week.
And
he was caddying for somebody else. It was fun tweet back and forth. I forget who the golfer was, but they thanked Joel Damon for lending out Gino, and Gino gave him the right numbers, and Gino's like, yeah, because I'm a great caddy.
He is a great caddy. Got to get him back in the studio, but I know it's hard right now because all these golfers are wanting to really work on their fall tournament schedule this year and the winter tournament schedule.
Yeah, and they're easy going through like house renovations and then building a house, and, showing his tour of the trailer they're in right now. And he's a busy dude.
It's funny.
You look at NASCAR, and Kyle Larson wins for the 3rd straight race. It's the 2nd time he has done so this season. Robert, can you name the only other driver to do that? Or at least the last driver to do that?
Yeah, that's like extremely tough.
Dale
I was
Earnhardt
gonna say
Sr.
I was gonna say senior
Way
because that's the
back
only
in,
one.
like the 80s or something.
Yeah, I would say senior because he was my favorite one, but I was thinking more Darrell Waltrip actually.
A lot of the playoff drivers had issues, which kind of jumbled them all together. There's one race left before the championship race. It's at Martinsville, which is a complete coin flip. I mean, a lot of wrecks trying to stay out of danger. Top 4 drivers move on right now. Obviously, Kyle Larson is locked in. Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin with a semi-comfortable lead. And then you have Kyle Busch right now in 4th, who is 1 point up on Ryan Blaney. Martin Truex Jr. is only 3 points out, and Brad Keselowski is only 6 points out. Oh, and Joey Logano can win and get himself in as well. So a lot can happen on Halloween at Martinsville. I'm very, very excited for that one. And now, sir, it is time for This Week in Sports History.
This Week in Sports History for the 20th through the 26th, back in 1988, Los Angeles is the first to have both an NBA and baseball, Major League Baseball championship, with the Dodgers beating the Athletics in 4 games. So that's the first time that ever has happened. But now it seems like it happens all the time now. 1989, Houston becomes the first college football team to gain 1,000 yards in a game. That's just nuts. It's just crazy to think about. 1992, the first baseball World Series game is held outside of the United States as the Blue Jays beat the Braves 3-2 in Toronto. 1994, again, we're going to go back to the Braves. Greg Maddux becomes the first pitcher in Major League history to win 3 consecutive Cy Young Awards. 1999, Florida State, I better fix that, Florida State football coach Bobby Bowden becomes the 5th coach in college history to record 300 wins. 2004, Michael Schumacher wins his 7th Formula One Drivers' Championship, his 5th consecutive win. In 2010, Washington cornerback D'Angelo Hall ties an NFL record with 4 interceptions in a game. That's where I was going to go with your trivia question.
I'm glad you did.
Because there's actually 13 people that have had that record. And I was like, I can't go that way.
That's great.
But yeah, 13 different guys have had 4 interceptions in a game. Crazy to think about, dating back to 1960. And in 2012, and the big one that still a lot of people look at and question, Lance Armstrong was officially stripped of all 7 Tour de France titles and banned for life because of his doping.
Crazy. All right, sir. Hit me with the trivia. If it's Tour de France, I quit.
No, I didn't do that. I really wanted to go do that NFL record for interceptions, and when I found that there was more than 4, I was like, I can't do that. So I'm going the other direction.
Okay.
Florida State's football coach Bobby Bowden had 300 career wins.
Yes.
How many? When he finished his career 4th place with 377. How many coaches have 300 plus career wins?
I really wanted you to say how many coaches were ahead of. Oh my God! So
just 300
hold
wins.
on, I got to reread. He became the 5th coach in 1999. So how many more coaches have we had in the last 22 years to pass 300? 11?
You're very, very close, sir.
Okay. How close?
Yeah, you're within 3. It was actually 14 coaches.
I'll take it.
John Gagliardi in the late 1940s through.
Haley was better than me. She said 12.
Yeah. He ends up with 489 wins. He coached at Carroll and also at St. John's. Joe Pop, number 2 with 409. Eddie Robinson, 408. And then a couple of big names a little farther down the list. Bear Bryant was number 8 with 323. And Pop Warner was 319, and he was in 9th place. So
I still can't believe that's an actual person.
Yeah, it was. But his listing of places that he coached at Georgia, he coached at Iowa State, Cornell, Carlisle, Pittsburgh, Stanford, and Temple.
So what you're saying is he couldn't hold a job.
Oh, yeah, I guess he bounced around. He has a great win percentage, 730. He was 319 and 106.
Crazy. All right, that is going to do it for this week on the R&R Sports Report. You've been listening to us on KLCZ 88.9 FM Lewiston. Also, don't forget to go on our Facebook and YouTube pages. Follow us there at the R&R Sports Report. That is where you're going to see the video tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time, where we put together our 6 calls that we did on the draft. It's a fantastic video. They did a fantastic job with that. Don't forget basketball Wednesday and Thursday here at the Activity Center against Yellowstone Christian. Dress up for Halloween tomorrow at the Activity Center. Get some candy, do a contest, everything there. And then we got a lot of high school volleyball here in the area Friday and Saturday as well. Girls basketball or women's basketball gets started on Tuesday. We will have live updates on the show next week. Check out LCSC volleyball as you can on lcwarriors.com. Root for them as they need to get those 2 wins for sure. Lots going on just locally. Lewiston playoff game on Friday. I almost forgot about that. Clarkston senior night, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm. Senior night.
On Friday. I'm going to guess it's a Soton senior night
too.
as well. So just there's so much going on, guys. Go support local sports, please, and thank you. But for now, that's Robert. I'm Randy, and we